Steve Younis here from SupermanHomepage.com at the 2018 Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois. And I don't think this man next to me needs much of an introduction, but I'll just tell you his name just in case. I'm here with Brandon Routh, the star of Superman Returns. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks, Steve.
Now, being an Australian, I want to get my first question in about Australia. You filmed Superman Returns in Sydney, 2005, I think it was when you were there. Was it earlier?
Yes, 2005.
Okay. Now, you obviously had to stay in Sydney for a fair while, filming the movie. What did you think of our fair city?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I had a great time in Sydney and have incredibly fond memories of my time there. We spent nearly 10 months there.
Oh, wow.
And, miss a lot of the restaurants I used to go to, and just the energy of the place and the people, and working at Fox Studios.
Yeah.
Going to the I can't remember what's the name of the little mall area that's there where we saw all of our movies, but a lot of fond memories.
Like in George Street area there.
Yeah. Well, right next to the studio, there's like a little mini outdoor situation.
And did you have Tim Tams while you were in Sydney?
Yeah, definitely had my share of Tim Tams for sure.
Very good.
Enjoyed Marmite.
Vegemite. Sorry. Yep.
I don't like it. Not a lot of it, but I
spread it on your toast.
Fine. Every once in a while. Yeah.
Cool. Now, you were when you went through the audition process to get the role of Superman. There were other actors who obviously were going for the role in the McGee time of doing the movie. I believe even Henry Cavill may have been auditioning for the movie at that stage. Did you get to meet or see any of the other actors? Anybody you can name?
I didn't see any of the other actors. When they had us screen test, they had us kind of isolated from everyone else. Right. So it was only me. The only person I saw was Sophia Bush, who was Lois for the screen test.
Okay.
So.
What was that like, screen testing opposite? Did you have to do any lines opposite with her? Or?
We did. We did two scenes. There were two scenes. There was a Clark scene and then there was a Superman scene.
And were they in the movie, from the movie, or were they separate?
They were from the script. As it was at that point, that version of the script. Yeah, one in the Daily Planet office, which they kind of made like a little set, and then the Superman one wasn't in a set. It was just rubble. I think because the scene was taking place in.
Now
destruction.
Sure. My friend George, who I was just talking to outside, had the pleasure of talking to your father while we were doing the Q&A earlier, and he was asking about the conversation. When did they find out that you had been cast for the role of Superman? And you rang your mother and he said, "Do you know who you're speaking to, Mum?" And she's like, "Yes, of course, Brando. Brando, I believe they call you Brando."
No, my initial's BJ. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So and she's like, "No, Mum. Like, you know who who you're speaking to." And finally, it clicked that what he'd been going for, and it was like Superman. So what was that moment like for you, like ringing around your family and your friends and the closest people in your life, just telling them like this groundbreaking, world-shattering news that's going to change your life?
Yeah, that was a celebration time.
You're right.
For me. That was the most exciting, was hearing it through them.
Yes.
And through her, scream of excitement and on the phone, and then celebrating the initial, because for me, when I found out, I was just so relieved. I think I collapsed on the chair,
Right.
And then I called her, fairly shortly after that. So it was great to be able to share that and to know that the whole journey was worth it, and that I could finally relax and then actually start doing the work of getting to play him, because I dreamt and envisioned for that 7-month process that it might be a possibility. So
now, I've been recently going to the gym, as you can probably tell. No, I'm just kidding. What was that process like for you, having to get into shape and the sacrifices you had to make in diet and in training? Like, was that something that you had been in your life, that you'd been kind of a fitness fanatic, or was it something that was foreign to you, that it was really a chore?
It wasn't foreign to me necessarily, but I never lifted weights.
Right.
Much.
Okay.
I grew up in high school and in middle school, competitive swimming and soccer. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of activity, was very physically active in a lot of sports, but didn't devote a lot of time to the gym, lifting weights. So I enjoyed it and appreciated it. It certainly was a shift in the way I was eating, and took a lot of dedication and time but I was. I mean, what better reason to get into shape, you know? So what better inspiration to do so? So it wasn't so hard. The hardest part was probably, 4 a.m. The mornings when I was getting about 4 a.m. to go running through the park in Sydney in the dark, and Hyde Park in the dark, and then it wasn't Hyde Park. It was the one that's right by the studio there.
Oh, okay.
Between the two footy stadiums.
Right, the Sydney Football Stadium and the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Yeah, and then going to the gym, and then having like a 14-hour work day.
Wow. And you couldn't eat mum's food because obviously
not so much. I probably ate a little bit too much on the weekends to indulge. But yeah. Cool.
Now, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to, from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
Superman Returns, loved the film, and obviously felt a little bit sorry for you in some respects that you had to carry on the legacy of what some people consider the greatest Superman of all time. We've had Kirk Allen, George Reeves, and many others since, not forgetting Bob Holliday, who was on the Broadway musical as well. And there's a legacy that you have to live up to, especially when the movie that you're doing is very much a love letter to the first two Christopher Reeve films. Did you feel that pressure of having to live up to that expectation? Obviously, it's not. I mean, if it's not big enough and that you're doing the role of Superman, but that you have to live up to somebody else's version of the character. I know somebody asked you at the Q&A, would you have done anything different? But did you feel cheated in any way? I mean, it's probably a strong word to use because of the fact, hey, I'm Superman. How can you feel cheated? And I'm following in the footsteps of such a great actor and a great man. But I felt, like I said, a little bit sorry that you didn't get to do your own version so much that you may have, had to carry on a bit of a weight on your shoulders.
No, I don't think I took that as a negative at all. So you can,
I can really
relax.
Rest easy.
Chris was my Superman, still is my Superman, and so I felt honored to be able to continue in his footsteps and continue his legacy, and I didn't really feel hindered or anything like that, because Brian didn't say you has to be exactly the same.
Okay.
We made homages, and certain things were similar, and storyline was certainly similar. But that was my version of Superman. I wouldn't have done anything that drastically different.
Sure.
What would have been different only was if it was Superman learning to be Superman.
Okay.
That would have been different, just because he would have been more naive and learning his skills and abilities and how to do everything. So that would have been more unique. But Superman in his prime or in part of his prime, that was the energy of Superman that existed within me, and so I was able to kind of continue that work that Chris had done and hopefully add something to it in my own way. But I respected the pressure. I didn't have fear about not living up to it, which maybe is just was naive at the time. But I wasn't worried that I wouldn't do it so much, because I felt so connected to it.
Okay.
So I was reverent to it, but not frightened by it.
Now, being your big breakout role, and now having been with that experience and maturity that you've gained over that the last 12 years since
12 years,
yeah, do you feel that looking back now, you think now I'd feel better doing the role? I'd have more. There's more that I would take. That I was pretty raw back there, or anything like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I was 24, 25 doing that. I've lived a lot of life since then, so I could give a lot more earnest. A more earnest performance, a more grounded, holistic performance, worldly experience, a version of Superman. That being said, I look back and I'm fairly proud of what I was able to tap into, because I did do a lot of work, emotionally, spiritually, and a lot of exploration to get into that energy. I just kind of. And more there now. I have a 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
I've had that experience, and that the maturity that I've gained from that, and knowledge is incalculable. So yeah, it would definitely be a different version of Superman.
Cool. Now, you brought your parents to the celebration this year. This is the second time you've been here at the Superman celebration. What's it like for you coming back here, and the experience? What are you expecting to get out of this weekend that maybe you didn't get out of last time you were here?
I think now it's been so long since Superman Returns came out, and I've done more conventions and met more fans, and just am more able to accept the impact that Superman has had on people's lives, the positive impact. That's a little bit of a challenging thing to take in.
Right.
It's nice to take compliments, but sometimes it's hard to take compliments, especially when you think, well, I'm just playing this character. And but I think that's one thing that as I've gotten older, I've been able to take in and know that it's not, it is me, but it's the character, and there's this shared experience that I've had with the character and people's vision of Superman. And so I can take that on as they appreciate that image, that archetype of Superman, and what I was able to bring to it, and that version, and it means something to them, and that's powerful, and it doesn't boost my ego supernaturally too high. I just say thank you. I'm glad that Superman meant that character, the character, was able to do something for you, meant and impacted your life, and allowed you to feel feelings that maybe you couldn't feel yourself, but seeing somebody else go through that experience, you were able to. It was a cathartic experience for you, and so that's cool. So I'm much more grounded in meeting everyone.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Now, the fans would kill me if I didn't ask you, have you seen the latest Superman films, and what did you think about them?
I have, yeah. To me, it's not necessarily the version of Superman that I that is my version of Superman. Sure. I think Henry's a talented actor and has done a fine job within the confines of the story, and what he's kind of been allowed to do. And I wish them success. I want the character of Superman. I want Superman to be there for people and to be that uplifting experience for people, and to continue the legacy of Superman. So I wish them all the success with that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Glad to finally meet you in person again. As I said, we've met in Sydney when you were filming Superman Returns, and we've obviously known I know of you, but you've known of me. And we've through Twitter and stuff like that, we've been trying to get things set up, and glad to finally have had this opportunity. It's been a real pleasure for me, and
likewise. And I just appreciate all the work and support from everyone on your team and everyone who's a fan and in the community, Superman homepage community. Thank you, and thanks for continuing to build and grow the legacy of Superman and be a part of it.
Thank you very much. Well, we're out of here from the Superman celebration, Metropolis, Illinois, with a great interview with Brandon Routh.
This is Brandon Routh, and you're watching a Superman homepage.
I'm Ron Routh, and I'm Superman's dad, and enjoy watching Superman's homepage.